For task number 4, we're going to do a little review of chapters 14, 15, and tie it into what we've been thinking about with writing and evidence and topic sentences and elaboration. So today we're going to work specifically with evidence. So get your Crispin book, and we're going to do a little matching exercise. And this is the prompt that we're going to think about. If I was given the prompt, how is Crispin feeling throughout chapters 14 and 15, and I had to start collecting evidence, I first need to think about how I would answer this. So my topic sentence might sound like, throughout chapters 14 and 15, Crispin shows how blank he is feeling. And so I need to reflect on that. Now, I'm going to give you the ideas for this just because I'm not there. If I were there and I could guide you and practice with you, I'd probably have you work on figuring them out. But we're going to use the adjectives how frightened he is feeling, how hopeless he is feeling, and how determined he is feeling. While escaping Stromford Village and the steward, Crispin is all alone and encounters many situations that make him feel this way. So now I'm giving some context, some background on the chapter to help me understand how these feelings come about. So on the next slide, you've got a little chart, and you've got 3 definitions up here, and then a bunch of different quotes from the story that you're going to sort into these feelings. Does the quote make you think he's frightened, that he was hopeless, or that he was determined? The pink boxes are definitions. So I'm going to do the first one for you. Frightened is an adjective, and it means afraid or anxious. So looking at the quotes here, I'm going to try and figure out which quotes do I see that make me think that he is frightened or anxious. So I'm going to pull this one over here so I can read it a little bit more carefully. I crept with care through what remained, fearful my steps might waken restless spirits. To protect myself, I gripped the cross of lead in my hand. So I want to think a little bit about how does a person act, or how do they feel when they're frightened? What kind of a description? Where's my context clues in here? And I see the word fearful, so I'm going to highlight that because that's a context clue. And I also think that if I was scared, here it talks about him gripping his cross. So we know that Crispin prays a lot, that he looks to God for help. And so gripping his cross shows that he is scared because he's feeling the need to talk to God. And then I'm going to drag that underneath here for the box under frightened. Okay, let's look at another example. I made the sign of the cross over my own hammering heart and retreated, and then rushed through the village wanting nothing more than to flee. So when I look in here, hammering heart, when someone is afraid, their heart starts to pound. So that makes me think that he is fearful. He's running away. When you retreat from something, you're afraid. Talks about fleeing. So those are my context clues. I want you to highlight the clues that help you figure out what trait you picked. And then the last one we're going to do together, and then you're going to do the last ones on your own, or the next ones on your own. Suddenly I spied what appeared to be a man hovering in the air. Heart pounding, I halted and peered ahead. So when I think about somebody being frightened, again, I've got this heart pounding. And so I'm going to drag that over here. So you're going to look at the definitions, drag the definitions for hopeless and determined, and then go through these quotes and figure out which quotes show that he's hopeless and which one are determined. And again, I expect when I look at yours to grade it that you've got some context clues highlighted. When you're done with that, you're going to practice writing a paragraph. Choose a prompt and develop an introductory paragraph. This is exactly like what we did on Monday and Wednesday. We actually did this together in class if we had time on Wednesday. So you can do a different season. You can't do the same one that we did in class as a group, but you could pick a different one. Or you could do the best movie of all time, or a sport. You're going to start with a hook, then you're going to write some context, and then you're going to end with a thesis statement. And your thesis statement's going to have 3 reasons that support why you think it's the best movie, or why you think it's the best season, or why you think it's the best sport, whatever you picked. Okay, and if you do not finish this, this becomes homework tonight. In addition to reading your assigned chapters, so your homework is to read chapters 16 and 17. Chapter 17 is pretty short. And at the end of chapter 15, we're going to meet a new person. The chapter ends when it says, "But as I was passing the broken church, I heard a solitary singing voice, singing, "Ah, dear God, how can this be that all things wear and waste away?" So as a reader, you should be curious and wondering, who is this person? Who's this voice? He's just stumbled upon to a village that is completely empty. He hasn't seen a single living person, and then he hears this booming voice singing. So that's what you're going to find out about in 16, and then 17 is very, very short. Make sure that you read. When you start class, we will have a quiz.